Howdy, glowworms. What is up? I hope your day's going well. I wanted to talk this week, sort of like ramble this week. When have I not rambled though? But talk a little bit about aging, because I've seen a lot of discourse, do we want to call it discourse, online, really over the past year or two, just about aging, and this kind of ties into Sephora kids and really young people, of course, particularly young women, young femmes, just being super concerned about aging, and if that's nothing new. I mean, there's always been among young people this desire to stay looking as young as possible for as long as possible. Older people get Botox and facelifts and stuff to try to look younger than their age. And yeah, I even have had now, some guys will ask me sometimes, just hey, what is the skincare routine? How do I stay looking young? So I really want to start with just thoughts on a mini ramble on just sort of where this all comes from. I mean, there is all of this anxiety around getting old, and I've heard a lot of theories. I mean, part of it is ageism, sort of people thinking that older people aren't as competent and that they're not, they don't have their wits about them the same way that young people do. They lose that sharpness. And there's this weird value that's put on youth and young age and everything. That's so strange, because it's kind of we all know that everybody at every age brings something different to the table. It's not you turn 40 and you're suddenly decrepit and useless, that'd be insane. And I don't know, it's just a weird thing. There's also all of these, I think part of it is this anxiety of your face changing and becoming quote unquote less beautiful, and it kind of being out of your control. I guess there's just this idea of oh my God, I need to stop wrinkles from happening, because then what, people will know that you've lived a while. I don't, what is really the fear? But there is this deep set, not deep set wrinkles, but deep set fear of wrinkles. That was a play on words, sort of. That, your face is going to change, you're going to look older, and you just won't be as attractive, I guess. And of course, all the other things that come with ageism. And I just find all of that interesting. I'm kind of in a weird place myself about aging, and that, of course, I'm concerned about it on some level, and I want to delay it for as long as possible. But I'm also when I get to the point that I have wrinkles and I'm clearly older, that's not the end of the world. I don't think I'll really know how I'll feel about it, of course, until I get there and until it happens to me. But from my perspective now, I'm 28. I've got some fine lines forming, but nothing too crazy. And I'm that's pretty normal. I look my age, and I don't have any anxiety about looking old yet. And I'm when is that gonna kick in? I'm not really sitting around waiting for it exactly, but every once in a while I just think oh yeah, maybe when I'm 40, that's when I'll start to be oh wow, yeah, I look like I've aged. But otherwise I kind of largely look the same as I did 10 years ago, which makes sense. I mean, I'm still young. I have a skincare routine. I don't really do anything too crazy that would make me age a bunch. I also have a theory that's not even, I mean, it's kind of proven, but this theory that having kids ages women, just because of the stress that's put on your body and the mental stress, of course. I mean, obviously that's one of the most stressful things you can do is like birth and raise children. Suddenly you have little lives on your hands that you're responsible for. And I think that that would cause me definitely enough stress to age faster. And like, that's not inherently bad. Like, the thing is, I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you want kids, kind of have to like accept that that's a very stressful thing for your body and that your body's going to change because that's what it does. And yet we still have all these like, not exactly expectations, but desires for our bodies to not change even when you've done something as drastic as bring life into the world. So I think that's kind of messed up, kind of insane of us, but like, here we are. And it's gotten to the point where, yeah, we've got kids in Sephora, like, looking at retinol and stuff, and I'm like, darling, you should not be putting anything that strong on your skin. You don't even have blemishes yet. I'm like, what is the retinol for? To turn over what? Like, your skin's turnover rate is as high as it will ever be. And it's like weird because it's like the anti-aging sort of mindset, propaganda, whatever, has just like leaked into, like, at first, like, it made sense when people were like teenagers and getting into skincare, because it's like, hey, if you start having acne, you're going to want to start building a skincare routine, and then you start learning a lot more about how to take care of your skin in the long term. But yeah, for somebody who's like prepubescent, what are we doing? What are we teaching them? Like, what? Obviously, like, part of it is like the TikTokification of the skincare industry. Just, young people anyone who has like access to a phone, access to the internet, can just like go on there and they're like, oh, well, this influencer I like said that I need to buy like this like face mask or something, or like The Ordinary's like peeling solution, or kind of whatever weird product. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it, like, on my parents' credit card, I guess, because like, I know you ain't got money at 8. Like, yeah, I know you ain't got a job. And yeah, and they do it, and I'm like, but when I was your age, I was literally just like, I don't even know what I was doing. I was probably just like splashing water on my face and like maybe using the same soap that I used for my body on my face. I don't think I even had a dedicated face cleanser. And now there are like children who are using fancier skincare than me. Like, everybody always likes to be like, why does that 10-year-old have Drunk Elephant? Like, what are you doing? You do not need that. Go to the drugstore and get some cheap, basic skincare, just like everyone else did at your age. But also, whatever your parents, I'm gonna let your parents, raise you however. And if they think that it's okay for you to use that, I can't stop any of it. That's not super my business. But yeah, I've just seen a ton of discourse just about like aging and how like it just seems like a lot of teenagers and even prepubescent children are they're just like so obsessed with it, and they're just so obsessed with this idea that like it's like they think they're gonna hit 25 and just like immediately be an elder, like they're gonna be like super old. And I'm like, I promise you 25 isn't even remotely old. I still think of myself not like as a kid, but just like as a youth. Like, I'm like, compared to the majority of society, I don't have like all of the life experience, and I'm child free. I'm like not, I'm just chilling. And I'm like, I can't imagine if 3 years ago when I turned 25, if I had been like, oh my gosh, it's all over, I'm so old. That'd be insane. No, when I was 25, okay, actually that was like 2021. So I wasn't doing much of anything due to, you may have heard about this like pandemic thing, but like, At that time, I think I like, especially because of everything that was going on, I was just like, well, I'm young and healthy and I'm going to be grateful for that. And I'm just going to kind of like go with the flow here, just kind of like take it one day at a time, like not stress too hard about missing out on years, because, it was just like a couple years of my adulthood that kind of got all mixed up and slowed down, and it was out of my control. And I was okay with that. And I can't imagine if at that time, on top of everything, if I had been like, oh my God, I'm running out of time. I'm getting so old. I'm 25 and and now everything's ruined because of like this global disaster. It's like, if that were stressing me out as well, oh my goodness, no. But like, maybe that's part of the anxiety. Maybe that's part of why there's just so many young people who are concerned about aging. Maybe it's because they feel like they kind of got set back, and now it feels like everything that you're doing, everything you're going through, you're like going through at an older age than you thought you would be. And everybody maybe feels a little bit held back, or a little bit, like a late bloomer or something, even though it's like we're all in the same boat. Everybody who was like in college or coming out of college around that time, we all got stuck in the same boat of just like kind of getting thrown off just as we were getting our feet under us. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's just because everybody's always pushing anti-aging skincare. But in the end, I'm really hoping that in the next couple of years, we kind of like come back to a balance on that. I'm hoping that more young people, once they hit their like mid-20s, realize like, hey, it's not that bad. You don't need to freak out. You don't need to buy, hundreds of dollars of fancy skincare. You'll be fine without it. Your skin, like, just like do the basics, drink some water, like you'll age just fine. And wear sunscreen. I had to throw it in. I couldn't help myself. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I wanted to talk about today. And I will go back to doing brand highlights soon at some point. I'm not actually going to promise anything, because like, I know that I have no business making promises that I can't keep. So I'm going to leave it here, and I'm going to thank you for listening. And I am going to go have some ice cream, oat milk ice cream, because I still do not eat dairy. Thank you so much. Have a good night, glowworms. Bye. Or not good night. I don't know what time you're listening to this. Oh my God. Bye.